Hello everybody and welcome back to ChäoS. Arimi's eyebrows twitched wildly. Tears overflowed incessantly from the corners of her eyes. Her D-sword slipped and fell from her hands. Rimi sank down in place with a thump. Like a child, covering her face with her hands, feebly shaking her head. I'm sorry. I didn't last. Nanami watched her expressionlessly. Norase snorted as though it bored him. Okay, and main character has snapped again, I want to say, because I think I've said that before. Nanami had disappeared without a trace. She had dissolved into bubbles before my eyes. She hadn't existed as anything of substance.
どこだよ。出てきてよ。いるんだろ。また、いたずらか。隠れてるんだ。やめろよ。
Okay, this one definitely seems like it is, in fact, we have snapped. We've completely snapped. Not just a jokingly snapped. The tears made my sight go fuzzy. No matter how I wiped them and wiped them, they kept welling up, hot droplets. Even with this heat, and even the emotions making me weep, were delusions. Because I myself was a delusion. Nanami had been a delusion. I'd been an idiot for expecting something of her, even for a second. My hope had been rapidly shattered.
ねえ、いつ、この妄想って、冷めるの。早く、冷めてよ。
I myself didn't really know who I was talking to, but in any case, I wanted someone to listen to me, and I didn't care who.
この妄想が冷めたら、僕が、本当はイケメンなんだ。そうに決まってる。物分かりのいい妹と、優しい姉がいるんだ。かわいい彼女と付き合ってて。
Okay.
その子は、リミとかセナみたいな電波女じゃなくて、セーラさんみたいないい子なんだ。
あなたは妄想の存在なんだよ。
Crawling on the floor on my hands and knees, I buried my head in a mountain of garbage and clutched at Sarah. Are we going ostrich? I punched the floor, frantically trying to avert my eyes from reality, but I couldn't do it. Rimi's words repeated themselves mercilessly inside my head.
死にたい。死にたいよ。どうして誰も僕を殺してくれないんだ。ねえ、セーラさん、殺して、僕を殺して。
そんなに死にたいの？
Apparently.
死にたい。こんなのもう嫌だ。自分の存在が嫌だ。何も考えたくない。生きていたくない。
かわいそうなタッキー。だったらすぐに殺される方法を教えてあげる。
Just as expected from a wife of mine. Sabra always showed me tireless devotion.
とりあえず外に出るんさ。
外に
Standing up as she told me, I left my base, all the while catching my feet on pieces of trash and almost tripping multiple times. I harbored no doubts about doing so, as Sarah was the only one Sarah was the only one who would never betray me, because she was my bride, because she wasn't a 3D girl. When I came outside, a strange noise struck my ears. This sound. I felt like I'd heard it somewhere before.
この音を追いかけて。
追いかけたら殺してもらえるの。
そういうこと。
Yep, pretty much. Well, that is not a, certainty then.
優しく殺してもらえるかな。
私が保証するよ。
Uh-huh.
よかった。やっと死ねる。
This sound was my messiah, the key to my salvation, inviting me toward a more restful land. Holding Sarah, I began walking in the direction the noise was coming from. The sound drew nearer and farther over and over, almost as if it were leading the way for me. When I seemed about to catch up, it would rapidly go far away. When I seemed about to lose track of where it was coming from, it would approach me and wait for me. Like it had a will of its own. A sound with its own will. It was evocative of Shogun, and his face flickered at the back of my brain, but I somehow stopped caring either way. Whether or not it was him, I didn't mind who I turned... Whether or not it was him, I didn't mind who it turned out to be, as long as they were going to kill me. I stopped thinking about what the sound's true form might be. I was going to die in a little while anyway, and that was a delusionary existence, so there was no meaning in my pondering it. Making the inside of my head a white blank, I all but unconsciously reeled my way after the sound, like a moth swarming in the direction of light. Whoops. The area around me grew boisterous. I began losing track of the sound. Clicking my tongue, I was about to look for the source of this racket when I had a start. At some point, I had ended up standing in the pedestrian scramble. Okay. I believe we did green last time, so let's do a red. Why not? I realized the tumult came from the astonishingly huge crowd of people flooding this intersection. They were pretty much packed together like sardines. Everyone was pushing and shoving like on the morning train to work. It was an even greater number of people than at the time of my live broadcast from a Top Zero front. Come to think of it, Grim had posted about it in our chat that there'd be a major party at the Scramble Crossing tonight. Sarah, what's going on? I only have nasty memories of this place. Why'd you take me here?
リベンジってこと。
Besides, where's the person who's supposed to kill me?
目の前にいるっしょ。
目の前。
A stunningly large crowd on this chilly autumn night. What kind of party would be held by a gathering of people so massive they had no room to breathe? Everyone was paying attention to me. I braced myself, thinking that they were going to denigrate me and sneer at me, and expose me to humiliation again like they had before. The trauma from back then made my knees go weak. As I stayed like that, someone jostled me in the back. Maybe it would be more correct to say that he'd hit me with a body blow. Caught by surprise, I stumbled forward and somehow managed to take a step, keeping myself from falling all the way. When I turned around, there was a guy who looked like a salaryman in his 20s. I'd never seen his face before.
すっげえ、こんな感触なんだ。
He looked at his own hands and muttered something with no apparent meaning. When I wondered to myself if this were some kind of harassment, I sensed a heat near my wrist. And then, the feeling of a foreign object, like something was stuck in the area around my lower abdomen. It started throbbing, a burning pain. Grimacing, I felt around my torso. Something like the hilt of a knife was sticking out of there. No, it wasn't sticking out of me. The knife was stabbing into me. The pain sharpened. In addition, my pants had turned wet without my realizing it. I was shocked to notice that it was due to my own blood.
次私ね
From straight in front of me, a woman, a young, fashionable collegiate woman, ran toward me with a smile on her face and a butcher knife in her hands. I didn't have enough time to avoid her. Her butcher knife pierced me deep into the stomach.
すっごい私刺しちゃった
Thrilled, the woman soon left me. Before I knew it, a mass of many people had surrounded me. Students, adults, young men, and middle-aged women alike, every one of them held fighting knives or kitchen knives in their hands and watched me, grinning. The 4 jumbotrons, on each of them danced a gaudy caption. Offline meetup for everyone to stab the fake Esper Nishijo Takumi to death, currently in session. A queue of people waiting their turn formed in front of me. Everyone began lining up in an orderly fashion, awaiting their turn to stab me. This time it was a fat Gangaro high school girl. Her knife penetrated me in the side. My thoughts couldn't keep up with the situation, and I didn't even have the spare room to feel panic. It took all I possessed simply to stay standing.
手に血がついたマジ最悪なんだけど
The fuck did you think was gonna happen when you tried to stab somebody with a knife? Shoving that Gangaro high school girl out of the way, an aging salaryman charged at me, tightly clutching a cooking knife.
ストレス解消だ俺
That older man yanked out the knife he'd stabbed me once with, then plunged it into me again.
こりゃいい
There was already one in my back, another 3 in my stomach, blades thrust out of my body, looking absurd. But it still wasn't over. The number of people in the line for waiting to stab me increased rapidly. Eyes bloodshot, everyone waited impatiently for their chance to stab me. Hitting the limit of my tolerance for pain, I seemed about to fall over. However, the man who'd first attacked me was, pinioning me from behind? I've got no freaking clue.
みんな並んで待ってるんだから倒れちゃダメだろ
He said a split second after, there came another searing pain in my back. A hard, cold blade was gouging its way through my skin, my flesh. I started to tell them to stop, but frantically shut my mouth. In a certain sense, wasn't this what I had longed for? I wanted someone to kill me. In that case, wasn't I getting exactly what I wished for? So don't tell them to stop or anything. As the man held me up, leaving me incapable of collapsing, they stabbed me. My chest, my stomach, my back, my arms, my thighs, my nails. They stabbed your nails? Like, that requires some serious freaking effort to just stab somebody in the nails. At some point, I started screaming my lungs out. Although I thought I would hold back on lamely crying and blubbering since I'd wanted to die, yet the pain was such that I couldn't tolerate it. How many blades were penetrating my body now? A number I couldn't readily have counted. Despite the fact that they'd stabbed me so much, the pain prevented me from being able to move more than a little, and neither my sensations nor my consciousness would go even a tiny bit numb. On the contrary, they grew terribly clear. Just how many times did they have to stab me? I wanted to die faster. Though it hurts so much, why wasn't I coming any closer to dying?
そんなの決まってるっしょ
Sarah's voice rang out in my head.
妄想だからだよ
Of course it is. Sighing, I opened my eyes. Both the pain and the sensation of foreign objects in me had vanished. In front of me, rather than a line of several dozen people, there was a pathway made by the crowd dividing itself down the middle, a single path inviting me forward. It'd be nice if my delusion would become reality, I thought, except with the added condition that I'd get to die after being stabbed about 3 times. I didn't want to undergo something so torturous. I thought this to myself in my foggy head as I stepped into the passage lined with people. Both the nearby rubberneckers and the people from the media were giving off an awfully edgy aura. They were stirring, but it wasn't the hubbub of a festival. Today I couldn't see a speck of the mirth they'd shown before when I shamed myself at Zero Front. Everyone was watching me. Their eyes were cold and sharp. The emotion they flung at me bordered on the urge to kill. My anticipation heightened, whether I wanted it to or not. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. When I looked up, all 4 of the massive jumbotrons depicted me walking through the crowd. This too was surely being broadcast nationwide. If the viewer ratings were 40%, it meant I would die with about 48 million people watching over me. The death of me, a mere delusionary existence. The death of me, one who had 0 value. You guys want to see it? How simplistic of you. But I don't especially mind. If you're gonna kill me, then watch as much as you like. I stood before the firing line of cameras and microphones. Their flashes went off all at once. A dazzling light blinked at me. Narrowing my eyes, I tolerated the brilliance of it. The first to speak was an aging reporter I'd seen on TV news shows and stuff.
西尾君、今回はどんなパフォーマンスを見せてくれるんだい？ところで、実は今日の昼に逮捕された貼り付け事件の容疑者は実行犯に過ぎなくて黒幕がいるっていう話があるんだけど、どう思うかな？
Why was this old fogey acting so overly friendly toward me, with me? Anyway, what do you think supposed to mean? Was he seeking my opinion? Well, stuff like the kind of comments you usually see coming from professors of criminal psychology were always the same standard stuff, no interesting content to speak of, so sure, an amateur like me could probably fill their shoes. That said, I didn't care about such things now. I'd lost all interest in New Gen. I'd come here in order to get someone to kill me, and not to answer the media's questions, nor did I have the energy to answer them.
それでね、西条君、ズバリ聞くけど、真犯人と目される人物は通称その目誰の目と言われていて、それは君なんじゃないかっていう噂があるんだよね。
そうかもね。
My mutter passed through the Jumbotron speakers and was transmitted all through Shibuya. An uproar broke out. The agitation of the people gathered here made the air accelerate faster and faster toward becoming something brutal.
どうでもいい。
Hurry up and kill me. I wanted to hurry up and be at ease. Don't make me do anything aggravating. Though that was what I wished for, several more mics pressed in on me. There was such force behind them. They were practically being pushed against my mouth. As if the floodgates had broken, The other reporters began hurling questions at me.
それは事件への関与を認める発言と考えていいんですか？
現実とゲームとの区別ができなくなるような経験はありますか？
逮捕された狛江田容疑者との関係について聞かせてください。
人を殺したのはやはりゲーム感覚だったりします？
In a certain sense, I'm much like a game character. Somebody, reset me. Get me to game over. Be quick about it.
早く殺してよ。
At my words, the mass of people whose tension had reached its zenith erupted.
死ね
人でなし、鬼畜、
殺してやるよ。
地獄に落ちろ。
死刑にしろぶち殺せ殺人鬼
Waves of people flooded in. I was swallowed up by their undulations. Bellows and screams intersected. They shoved me, crushed me, jostled me. With people pushing at me from every direction, my body went buoyant. The soles of my feet separated from the earth. No matter how I struggled, nothing came of it. They hit me in the head, socked me in the arm. But it wasn't enough pain to make me think I would die from it. I didn't fight back against my difficulty breathing, which threatened to suffocate me either. When I gave my body over to this chaotic situation, the pressure on me abruptly went away. I toppled away in place. Sarah spilled out of my hands. She went rolling atop the asphalt. Numerous legs sprouted there. As close as the trees in a forest, writhing, my wife rolled into the gap between them. No matter how desperately I stretched out my hand, I couldn't reach her. The continents that had borne such a dazzling smile, the smile that had healed me. Someone's leather shoe trod on it. It continued further as someone kicked her body and she tumbled, and a woman's red high heel stepped on her torso with a crunch, crushing it.
Sarah.
I called to her, but no answer returned. My sole ally was gone. My chest seemed about to cave in with sorrow. With this, any meaning there had been to my life in this world had completely vanished. When I looked up, even the night sky was blocked from my view by the wall of people surrounding me. No one noticed that I was crouching here. Even though I'm here, even though I'm asking you to please kill me, why does everyone ignore me? Without warning, I felt it at the back of my neck. A kind of prickle. The sensation of God's gaze.
君は
A voice resonated.
ここで死んじゃダメだ。
Inside my head, I drank in a breath
理想度を手に入れて。
and bit my back molars together tightly.
将軍
I looked for that wheelchair among the tight-packed herd of legs. I longed for the bastard dressed up as Darth Spider. Are you the host of this festival, after all? Are you gonna put on some stupid costume and threaten me again? Are you trying to reenact the same thing as before? Death is what I deserve, or is what I desire. No way did I want to be made into a living exhibition.
あの時の自称将軍は僕じゃない。
Oh?
僕はコスプレはしないよ。
Oh? That's exactly what I don't give a crap about. Whatever. Just kill me. Get to it faster.
あいつらが動き出している。この場は今以上の混乱になるよ。
They?
すべての黒幕。この混乱を引き起こした者たち。混乱を利用して利己を追求しようとする者たち。彼らを止められるのは君だけなんだ。
I pushed myself up. Angry shouts went on spiraling above my head. No one gave me a second glance. The spectators and the media were jumbled together, grabbing at each other, slandering each other, punching each other. Why were these people...
沈黙の兵器。ノア2はすでに稼働してる。この混乱が起とされた一番の目的は、無差別人体実験。
Something hard struck me on the head. Acute pain shot through me, enough to make me think my skull would break. Unable to withstand it, I cradled my head. When I looked over, teary-eyed, a stone about the size of a fist had fallen nearby. A little bit of blood clung to it. That stone, which someone had hurled at me, seemed to have landed a direct hit. A splitting pain. When I put my hand to it, my fingers touched something damp. There was blood stuck to my fingertips. My blood. From far away came a dry, explosive sound, followed by a woman's shrill voice. A gunshot? There'd been someone with a gun here? Why was everyone so worked up? Why was everyone picking fights with people who had nothing to do with them? Why were things becoming so chaotic? The scapegoat, the living sacrifice everyone had been waiting for. Wasn't it me?
渋谷の GE レートバイオリズムがありえないくらいに上昇してるんだよ。言ったでしょ。無差別人体実験だって。この場にいる人たちは今見えない攻撃を受けているんだ。
I heard that sound, like something creaking, like something rusty, like the feeble, halting sigh of a dying woman. The sound of the wheels on his wheelchair. There were so many people here, chaotically swelling walls of people. Despite that, Shogun continued straight toward me in his wheelchair, without bumping into anyone, without getting tangled up with anyone. A very small, emaciated body, covered in wrinkles and so feeble it seemed as if he would break if you touched him. His eyes were a cloudy white. I couldn't tell what he was looking at or what he could see. I couldn't take my eyes away from him. The clamor around us suddenly died into the distance.
ずっと君を見ていたよ。
The same voice as from the first time we met. Not a weird voice like the one I'd heard at Zero Front.
君は誰なの？僕は君だよ。
Those three words enlightened me.
僕を妄想して生み出したのも、神の自然の正体も君だったんだね。うん。
He was my creator. He was the existence who had imagined me into being. And to me, someone I could never measure up to.
君の名前は西条匠。
The real me. The original me.
君はいくつなの？
Also, this would indicate that yes, my original suspicions before I changed it last part was in fact correct. Shogun spawned us into existence.
君と同い年だよ。君の設定とね。
17. Yet he was so small and so wrinkled.
このままだと世界が死んじゃう。ノア2にあらゆる人の心は支配されちゃう。だから君に託したんだ。
Entrusted. Entrusted what?
意味がわかんないよ。そんなの僕には関係ない。頼むよ。僕を消して。今すぐに消してほしい。
Shogun's wrinkles shifted. It seemed like he was making a different expression, but it only looked as though his wrinkles were moving.
全部僕のせいなんだ。僕が IR2 を妄想しちゃったせいで。なんとか止めようとしたけど、僕はこんな体だから満足に動くこともできない。それで君を生み出した。君に止めてもらうために。そんなの知らない。 僕は君のコピーだけど、コピーだけが苦しまなくちゃいけないなんて、そんなの嫌だ。死なせてよ。
君はコピーじゃない。もう一人の僕だ。
つまりコピーじゃないか。君のしてることはすごく残酷だ。
悪かったって。でも、他に方法はなかった。今世界の命運は、君にかかっていると言っても過言じゃないんだ。だから。
そんなのリミに頼めばいいじゃないか。
Things aren't going so well for Remy right now.
知り合いなんでしょ。
Acquaintances. I phrased it in such a way deliberately. I didn't want to think that maybe they were a couple or close friends. And now, of all times, I noticed my own feelings. I was jealous of my original, despite being a delusionary existence. How hideous. How unsightly. Talk about not knowing my place. My own emotions sickened me. I felt more and more pent up. I want to die.
リミは、ナナミを助けに行って、逆に捕まっちゃったんだ。
え？
リミはね、僕を救おうとしてくれていた。その理由は、君も知っているよね。
あれは空。あの空はどうしてあんなに泣きたくなるくらい。
それを望んだから。
私は
僕が望んだんだ。ここは君の心象世界であると同時に、僕の心象世界でもあるから。
Remy turned my way. She looked at me dubiously.
あなた誰？ここには私以外はいないはずなのに。あなたは別の私？
違うよ。
だったら誰？どうやってここに来たの？私の心の中だよ。ずっと暗闇しかなかった。光は私に当たるスポットライトだけ。それなのに、あなたが来た途端に暗闇がなくなって空ができた。
妄想がシンクロしたんだ。君の力がとても強かったから。
そう。
Remy looked back up at the sky, a clear, azure sky.
私、本物の空、私っていう人格が生まれた時にはね、もう暗い部屋に閉じ込められてた。心の中も外も闇しかなかった。そこからは絶対に出してもらえないの。私、今死のうとしてたんだ。心を自殺させるの。きっとこれまでの私もそうしてきたと思うし。でもせっかくあなたが空を持ってきてくれたから、この光景を記憶に刻んでおいていいかな。次の私がまたこうして想像できるように。
死にたいの？
うん。
本当の空を見てみたいとは思わないの？
ねえ、空って本当に
Yeah.
あるよ。でも現実の空はこの空よりも汚れてる。
どこにある？あの空はどこにあるの？
君が望めばどこにでも。
望んでいいの？
もちろんだよ。
どうやって望むの？
光は電磁場の波。その振動現象を人の視覚は色として捉えるんだ。
Of course, we proceed to go ahead and, try and explain how the sky gets its color.
自分のデッドスポットに望む色を当てはめてごらん。そうすれば君の望む世界の色を作り出せる。世界は君の望みに応えてくれるよ。
Several days, or else several months after that encounter, Rimi came to my hospital room. We were fellow patients staying at the same hospital, fellow bearers of the power belonging to the gigalomaniacs, which transcended human understanding and which left us unsure of whether to take pride in it or detest it.
お兄、お客さんだよ。ねえねえ、誰？彼女さん、いつの間に？やるね、お兄ってば。また会えたね。
She was very worn down. Her skin had a sickly pallor. Her hair was dry and neglected, left to grow as it liked. There were cracks in her fingernails. She kept her eyes constantly narrowed, as if it were bright out.
本物の空は見られた？
うん。あ、そうだ。
Nanami, who had been watching us, clapped her hands as though she'd remembered something.
ナナ、お洗濯してこなくちゃ。リミさんでしたっけ？どうぞごゆっくり。
Nanami left. Rimi and I absent-mindedly watched her go in unison. Rimi turned back toward me.
匠はいつから入院してるの
5年ぐらい。
退院の予定は
ないよ。僕の余命はあと2年ぐらいだと思うし。
私はあなたのおかげで頑張ることができた。終わりなんて絶対にないと思ってた。でもあなたが教えてくれた空を見るまで頑張ろうと思った。そしたら急に外に出してもらえた。用済みになったって言った方が正しいかもしれないけど、
Interesting.
そう。
私はあなたに救われたの。だから今度は私があなたの力になりたい。
そんなの気にしなくていい。わざわざ僕に会いに来なくてもいいよ。君にはこれから普通に生きてほしい。
普通の生き方なんてわからないから。
Rimi's past, Rimi's feelings, Rimi's resolve. As I remember them, my chest tightened.
なんでリミは僕に近づいてきたの？
彼女は君の近くにいることで、君の行動、君に接触してくる人間のことを監視して、君を覚醒させないようにしていたんだ。彼女を恨まないであげて。彼女はただおせっかいなだけなんだ。
A sad note resided in Shogun's voice.
巻き込みたくなかったのに、彼女は僕がどれだけ止めても聞いてくれなかった。勝手に僕に恩義なんか感じて、本当におせっかいだよ。
リミとナナミは誰に捕まってるの？
プロジェクトノアの責任者。すべての黒幕。 野呂瀬源一、かつてリミを捕らえて拷問していた男でもある。それなのにリミはナナミと僕と、そして君を助けるためにあの男のところへたった一人で乗り込んでいっちゃった。
I wish they would move to a different scene rather than the white light. I really do. A voice revived at the back of my head. Words of the Rimi I didn't know. Words that Rimi had said to Shogun.
リミ？
あ、うん。私、実は、ちょっとした報告があります。ナナちゃんを、これから助けに行こうと思って。
やめるんだ。君はあの男、野呂瀬とはもう会いたくないでしょ。
私って信用されてないな。平気だってば。
No, you're not.
昔の話だしね。
Not long enough.
そもそも私の感情とナナちゃんを助けることとどっちを優先させるかなんて決まりきってることだよ。
ナナミを助けるのもプロジェクトノアを止めるのも僕のやるべきことだ。君は。
言ったでしょ。私はあなたの力になりたいって。それにタクには関わらせたくないの。
おせっかい。
そうかもね。あなたにしか言われたことはないけど。ねえ、ちょっとだけ語っちゃっていいかな。タクにね、いろいろひどいこと言っちゃったんだ。しかもそんなことしておいてすごく自分勝手なんだけど、私彼と一緒に過ごした時間はとっても楽しかったって思っちゃってるんだ。何もかもが妄想でまみれたまやかしでしかなかったのに。学生生活もあの学校に私やタクが通っていることも、大地と友達だっていうことも、私がタクと一緒にいようとしたことも。
I know I'm not really talking much, but there's really not much I can add when they're doing these like long things of just kind of back and forth between voiced lines.
タクの存在そのものも。タクってどうしようもないくらい情けなくて、どうしようもないくらい弱くて、きっと普通の女だったら見向きもしないような男の子なんだよ。なのに私の心には楽しかったっていう気持ちがあるの。
But is it only fun?
なのに私の心にはもっと一緒にいたかったっていう気持ちがあるの。
I assume in theory, we, the main character, would potentially disappear sometime after Shogun, the real Nishijo Takumi, were to die.
この気持ちって何なのかな。
インプリンティングのようなものかもしれないね。
本能っていうことかな。それって意外とロマンチックかも。
I'm not sure if I want to know how you come to that conclusion.
君が楽しかったならきっと彼も楽しかったと思うよ。
そうだといいな。私はタクと似たようなものだから。肉体が妄想から作られた存在と、人格が妄想から作られた存在と、どっちも変わらないでしょ。だからタクのこと消したくなかった。消さなくちゃダメだって思ってたんだけどね。でもいつの間にか感情移入しちゃったみたい。タクには ごく普通に暮らしていってもらいたいの。私は、匠も、タクも、助けたい。ねえ、タクのことは、そっとしておいてあげて。
そういうわけにはいかない。ノア2を破壊するために彼は必要だよ。
How exactly are we necessary?
私が何とかするから。
君はそんなことしなくていい。君こそごく普通に暮らしていくべきだ。
さてと、そろそろ切るね。
リミ、やめて。
本当に大丈夫だって。あなたは何も心配しないで。私が全部決着をつけてくるから。
No, you won't, because as we know, now, already, you've been captured.
匠。
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end this part here. We've gone a little over 15 minutes past the timer. And I don't exactly have good reason to believe that this scene is not going to go for significantly longer. I mean, realistically, it probably won't, but, you know, just to be on the safe side. And the fact of the matter is, I don't want this part to be, like, you know, stupidly long, especially in light of the fact that I got nothing to say for a good chunk of this. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and end this part here. I will see you all next time. As I've mentioned the past couple parts or so, or at least some of them, it would appear that we are rapidly approaching the end of this series. I don't currently know what will be replacing this, so there may or may not be like a few weeks of sort of, you know, downtime between this series ending and whatever its replacement ends up being actually starting up. But it probably won't be another visual novel. Not because I don't enjoy those and not because I don't want to put more on the channel. It's just that there's other stuff that I do want to go and do series on. And when this series ends, it's easier to just go ahead and choose one of those instead of just replacing it with yet another visual novel, which there are other visual novels that I want to at some point get around to, just not necessarily in the immediate future. But yeah, so that'll be it for this part. Quick reminder, if you want to support the channel, the two major ways to do that are via either Streamlabs or Patreon. Patreon comes with some extra goodies, such as early access to videos, while Streamlabs, more of whatever money you give actually makes its way to the channel, because Patreon takes a 5% cut, I believe it is. And so, yeah, if you want to, you know, maximize your support to the channel, go the Streamlabs route. Streamlabs has, since sometime late 2021, supported a monthly donation/tipping option. You can use whichever you prefer. You know, if you want to just do one-time Streamlabs tips, you can do that. If you want to do monthly, you can do that too. But you don't get any goodies if you go the Streamlabs route, like I said. There's just no good way for me to really, you know, actually give the rewards out in a nice, easy, centralized-ish manner. So yeah. So that'll be it for this part. Until next time, goodbye and farewell.